Hello, everybody. I'm Allison from the Horse Trio, and today I'm going to be taking you guys on my journey of my 4-H show. So, our first step is some packing. Alrighty, so first up for my English, I have my English riding boots. Then I have my English spurs, but I really only put these on when we go jumping. Sometimes I'll do it when we just ride regular, but mainly jumping. Then we have my half chaps. Then we have my breeches. Don't mind the big stain, I'm not sure how it got there. Then we have my undershirt that goes under my show jacket. Then, of course, we have my actual show shirt or show jacket. Then, of course, my helmet. I personally wear a helmet every time I ride, solely because I believe that you only get one brain, you might as well try and protect it. So that is all of my English riding gear officially packed. Next up, let's move on to my Western riding gear. First up, I have my cowboy boots, which I wear all the time, not just for showing, but just around the house as well, and outside. Not really in the house, but outside of the house. Then I have my Western spurs, which I also probably won't wear. It's mostly just when Ace is refusing to move or we're just working on things. Then we have my brand new jeans that I bought a couple days ago from Murdoch's. And yeah, I really like the pattern on the back, so that's what I'll be wearing. Then we have my Western belt because for 4-H you have to wear a belt when showing. And I'm pretty sure you just have to for most shows in general, wear a belt with your jeans. It's just kind of proper Western etiquette, I suppose. So yeah. Then we have my two Western show shirts. So at the time of filming this, I wasn't really sure. That's why I put up a community poll to see which one you guys wanted. And most of you voted for the one on the right-hand side, the brown, white, and blue. So that is all of my Western riding gear packed up. I ended up going with the brown, white, and blue show shirt. So that is basically all of my personal stuff packed up. And next up, we will be packing up just extra stuff. So I decided to not really show the extra stuff, but that does include obviously all of my tack, brushes, brush bag, hair ties, and then a hairnet, and then also just, green spot remover, conditioner, detangler, hoof polish, show sheen, all the stuff that you would need for a horse show. We also, of course, packed buckets and hay nets for the horses, and that is just kind of all the extra stuff that we ended up packing. Alrighty, so the beginning of day one, I first of all went and grabbed Ace. Then I haltered him up. He was very easy to halter today. He didn't try to run away. Then we headed over to the trailer where I was going to brush him off, clean him up, and start braiding him. So I didn't fully tie him up because he got to have his breakfast before we left. And then I just did a quick brush over, and then I began braiding him. Alrighty, so because we had showmanship and English that day, I just did little baubles for him. And then I also did a tail braid. It did stick out a lot when I first did it. I never claimed to be a pro, but it did settle down and mold with the rest of his tail after about 30 minutes or so. I never claimed to be a pro. I know they're not the prettiest, but it was the best I could do with the time I had. Next up, we loaded them up and headed to the first day of our 4-H show. So once we got there, we unloaded them and tied them up and then just, did the last finishing touches to get them ready for showmanship. So this was my first class, and this is my showmanship pattern that we had. So here is us doing our showmanship pattern. We honestly did pretty good, I thought, overall. So we had to pick up the trot a little bit before that cone. I thought we did pretty good on that, basically because we haven't really done any showmanship all year. And then we had to trot around the second cone and go straight to the judge, where we would halt and set up for inspection. So once we got there, Ace didn't really want to set up super good. I'm not saying that we practiced it and that I'm an expert on setting a horse up. So as soon as he got, somewhat decent spacing between his legs, I just went with it and nodded at the judge for her to go around and inspect him. I did my best with my quarters. I'm definitely not a pro at showmanship. It's probably my least favorite class, but I did my best with my quarters, and I thought that Ace did really good standing still, as that's something that he has struggled with in the past, and he's moved around a lot. Then we did our quarter turn. We had to back up about 1 horse length, and then we had to do a 180-degree turn towards the fence. He did a really good job moving away from me and not just bending his neck too much. And then we trotted away to the fence line, and that was the end of our showmanship class. Next up, we had English equitation, which I actually don't have a lot of video from this class, pretty much just us trotting, but there was no pattern. It was just on the rail. It was just me and 2 other girls. So Ace and I thought we did pretty good in this class, and it was walk, trot, canter. I just don't have video of us walking or cantering. This was the only video that I got for equitation, but I do think that this is a good time to, explain the placings. Basically, there's white, red, blue, and purple. White is kind of you need improvement, red is pretty good, blue is great, and then purple is perfect or excellent. It's not, judged in first, second, third, fourth, fifth. It's judged with different colored ribbons. And so everyone in a class can get red, everyone can get blue, or, everyone can get purple. It doesn't have to be one person gets this, one person gets that. It's kind of just more about your skill level, less based around comparing you to other people in your class. So for showmanship, we got blue, which is the second best. And then for English equitation, which is this class, we also got a blue ribbon. So I will be showing you all my placings at the end, but I just thought I would explain the placing system as it is quite different from other shows that I've done, and I was very confused at the beginning. Next up, we had my English horsemanship pattern. I'm currently a level 3 in 4-H, so this was my pattern. So we came into the arena pretty good. The pattern was definitely a lot tighter than I was expecting, but the judge did come up to me and the other girl in my class afterwards and told us that the pattern was basically impossible. So basically, we were supposed to walk from A to B, which is the second cone. Then we were supposed to pick up a posting trot on the correct diagonal. Then once we got back to B, we needed to pick up a left lead canter. Then on our way between B and C, we needed to break down to a trot or do a flying lead change and change leads to the right. Now, as you can see, we do not have a whole lot of room to do this before we need to pick up another posting circle at C. So the judge was very nice about this and also agreed that it was quite impossible to, change leads, especially if your horse can't do flying lead changes on a straightaway. So she was quite understanding, and we ended up getting a blue ribbon for our horsemanship pattern, as everything else went pretty good besides our lead change down the straightaway, solely because we did not quite have the room that we needed. But overall, I thought our pattern, besides that little mess up in the middle, was pretty good, and we ended up getting a blue ribbon. Next up, we had my Hunter Hack jumping course, and I ended up doing cross rails and 18-inch for the height, and this ended up being my Hunter Hack pattern. Alrighty, so this was my cross rails jumping round. We did get 1 practice round for each height we were doing, so I did trot over it the first time, and after that, he was feeling really good, so I decided to canter. We used as much space as we possibly could to get over the first jump. He thought about giving me a little sass there, but decided better. And then we got a beautiful distance right there, and he did switch his leads over the jump, which was very nice as we picked up our hand gallop. It wasn't the nicest hand gallop, but, I thought we did pretty good. And he actually stopped a lot nicer than I thought he would at the end of the pattern, so that was also really nice. I'm honestly just so proud of him. He's come so far. Next up, we had my 18-inch course. We cantered into this one as well after trotting the first round. We got a pretty good distance going into the first jump, and then we also got another good distance into the second one. He did change his leads again over the jump, which was really nice going into our hand gallop. And honestly, I'm just so proud of this horse. We ended up scratching our 2-foot, which we were going to do solely because he just did so good in the cross rails and 18-inch. And our last show, we tried to do 2-foot, and he kept refusing, and I wanted this to be a good experience for him. So we ended up stopping there, which I think was the best decision for both of us. And honestly, I'm just so unbelievably proud of this horse. Alrighty, so I may or may not have forgotten to, record us untacking the horses, getting home, and feeding them, as we did not stall our horses overnight at the showgrounds. But just know that we did untack, get home, and then feed them, and then just had a nice chill evening. And then this is the beginning of day number 2. So I didn't really get any video, but I grabbed Ace, and as you can see, he had a beautiful perm from his baubles. and then I just fed him his breakfast, brushed him off, and then we headed to the show. Alrighty, so my first class of the second day was bareback. Now, where I used to live, we just didn't really do bareback at shows. There just wasn't really an option for it. So when I saw that there was an option for a bareback class at my 4-H show, I had to sign up for it. Honestly, I just love bareback, and I thought it would just be so cool to, see how it went, because it was my first ever time doing a bareback class, and this is only Ace's second ever show. So I was very impressed with how Ace did, especially, and myself. I thought that I rode quite well. So, as you can probably see, I was also the only one in English attire. Now, there are 2 reasons for this. One, if you ride in Western attire, you have to ride one-handed. If you don't, you get deducted a whole lot of points, and my horse cannot neck rein yet. 2, I was not fully comfortable. Ace is still quite green, and he sometimes, does little crow hops and broncs when horses come up fast behind him. So I just thought for this show, as it is his second ever show, and just for the both of us, it was just a smarter decision if I stayed in my English and I did two-handed. However, this did mean a lot of additional work, as I needed to braid him and unbraid him and do all of this extra stuff. The turnaround was very, very fast. I only had 2 classes in between my bareback and my Western equitation. Luckily, my mom helped me tack him into his Western stuff while I quickly changed into my Western stuff, and my dad helped to take out all of his braids. So I am happy that I ended up going English and did 2 hands, but it was a very, very quick turnaround. Honestly, though, I'm just so proud of how well Ace did. It was definitely a very, very fun class. As you can see, I've had to do a couple interesting maneuvers, and I will say that the arena awareness of some of the other riders was not the best, but I still thought that we did pretty good, and it was definitely just a very fun experience doing bareback. We did end up getting a purple ribbon in the bareback class, which I thought was well-deserved. I personally feel like I rode very well, and I also feel like Ace just did an amazing job. He was listening to me very well, and it was just such a fun class. Definitely my favorite class of the weekend. It was just so much fun. And if any of you guys ever have the opportunity to do a bareback class, I would definitely advise doing it. It is just so much fun, and I had such an amazing time doing this class. And yeah, I personally thought that I rode very well, and Ace just did phenomenal. I was so, so proud of him. But besides that, that was my bareback rail class. There was no pattern for bareback, but honestly, it was so much fun. Alrighty, so my second class of the day, following the quick turnaround from my bareback class, was my Western equitation class. Now, this was by far my largest riding class, besides showmanship, which was my largest just class in general. It had 18 kids in total. This class, I'm still not entirely sure how many kids were actually in the class, but it did feel like quite a lot in this small arena. Now, Ace cannot neck rein, as I said before. He's definitely gotten a lot better at it since our last show and just since some of our last rides, but it's still not perfect. And as you can see, I do lean a little bit forward at times just to try to use my body weight to move him around, and I made sure that I was using a lot of leg, and mainly I only used my reins a little bit to slow him down, and I tried my best to steer him with the reins, but most of it was definitely leg and seat, which is why you will see that I was falling a little bit forward sometimes just to try to get him moving and getting a good canter rhythm. Honestly, though, I felt like I did a pretty good job, and I felt like I wasn't falling too far forward. The judge did say that I needed to lean a lot further back, which I didn't think I needed to lean a lot further. I do think I could have sat up straighter, but I didn't think that I needed to be leaning backwards like the judge may or may not have said. But I thought that I did a pretty good job, especially at the walk and trot sitting upright. The canter was a little more me leaning forward, but it was definitely a large improvement from my last show, where I was basically a hunchback the whole time. Also, Ace did very, very good with the neck reining, and I say neck reining with quotation marks because it was mainly leg, but he was responding very well to the reins in general, so I was just very happy that he was doing so well. I also finally learned how you're supposed to hold the split reins while you show, because I did not know how to do it, and then someone pointed it out and showed me how to do it. So I thought that overall our Western equitation class went pretty good, And yeah, I would definitely say that it was a good, successful Western ride, considering that we both don't really know how to neck rein and we were just doing our best. So, yeah, I ended up getting a blue ribbon in Western equitation, which I do think I deserve blue. My equitation definitely was not worthy of a purple, but I do not think it was worthy of a red either. So I thought that blue was a good placing for Ace and I. But overall, it was definitely a very successful ride, and I thought that we did very good overall for our first kind of real 4-H show where we actually did pretty good with the neck reining and the one-handed, because I knew that this was probably going to be the hardest aspect of the show, just because we are both definitely not the best at neck reining. But overall, it went very well, and I'm super proud of Ace. He just did phenomenal. Next up was my Western horsemanship pattern, level 3 for 4-H, as I am level 3 in English and Western, so this is how it ended up going. All right, so by this point in the show, Ace was getting a little bit tired and he was being a little buddy sour and didn't want to leave the gate. So it took a little bit of effort to get him to the first cone. And then once we got there, I quickly nodded at the judge, and then we had to pick up the trot right at A. Then when we got to B, we had to pick up a right lead canter, and as you can see, we got the incorrect lead. The nice thing about the judge is as long as you correct it reasonably fast, she didn't deduct points. So as you can see, we broke down to the trot and I picked up the correct lead. Then we halted at B, and then we did a nice 180-degree turn to the left, which was very nice. We were pretty close to the fence. It's hard to tell at this angle, but overall, he did really good with that. Then he didn't really want to move forward. That's why we were backing, but he ended up getting it, and we picked up our left lead really nicely, and we went past. And then once we got to this cone, which was number C, we break down to a trot, and then break down to a walk at D. And then once we got to E, we had to do a nice backup, which Ace did very well. He is definitely a very good backer upper. He has a very nice backup. So that is one nice thing about him. Then I looked over at my judge, and once everything was done, she nodded, and we went and walked away. Honestly, it went super well. It was definitely better than our English pattern, and considering that it was one-handed, I thought that we did quite well, besides, picking up the incorrect lead right off the bat. And I did end up getting a blue ribbon for this class as well. Alrighty, so next up was my final class of the weekend. This is the last class we ended up doing, and it was my trail course. So I actually did not get my trail ride on video, so I'm just going to give you guys a little quick run through of how it went. So first thing we had to do was open a rope gate with your right hand. So we opened the gate super nicely. Ace did super good, but as we were going to close it, he kind of backed up crooked and just kept backing up. So I ended up having to drop the rope, which was no big deal, the gate is always a tricky one. Then we had to trot and do some serpentines through some pylons on the ground. Then once we got to a mailbox, we had to halt, open, and close the mailbox, which Ace did really good. He was a little spooky at first, but eventually we got it. Then we had to go over a bridge. We did make multiple attempts at this until eventually we did not get it, and the judge told us to just move on. But he was very close. He got about halfway over and then backed up. So we walked past that, and then we had to walk near some of these poles and back up, which went very well. Then we had to go forward. We had to go into these 4 little poles along the side and do a 360-degree turn either direction. I believe we ended up going to the left. Then you had to walk out of the poles, trot through some standards, and then trot to this other pole where you would halt, dismount, and walk your horse over the final pole. Then you would wait, nod at your judge, and then when she dismissed you, you could leave. Overall, trail was by far our worst class of the day, and we ended up getting a red ribbon, which was my only red ribbon of the weekend. But honestly, it still went very good. I was still very proud of Ace and how he ended the day. So even though it was our worst class, it was still a good experience, and we just need more practice with trail. Alrighty, so I may or may not have forgotten to once again film us untacking and bringing the horses home. But anyways, after we finished trail, we went straight home, untacked the horses, loaded them up, got them home, and then fed them, and that was the end of our 4-H show. Overall, it was such a huge success, and I could not be more proud of Ace. So next up, I'm just going to show you all of the ribbons that I won and the awards that I got. But overall, it was amazing. All right, so for ribbons and awards, it was a little bit different than what I'm used to. So we didn't actually get ribbons. We got all of these plaques with all of our classes and then what ribbon you got placed in that class. Honestly, I think that it's such a cool idea because instead of wasting all that time and money on ribbons, you just get a cool, unique, and customized plaque. So these are all the ribbons that I got. I got a blue ribbon in Ranch Horse Level 1. I don't really have any videos of that. I might post a couple little shorts, but I'm not going to be making a vlog about the Ranch Horse. Basically, that was just cow sorting, a working ranch riding pattern, roping on the ground, and then a written test. So overall, we did pretty good in Ranch Horse. Then for the actual 4-H show, we had junior showmanship, which I got a blue ribbon in. Then we had the English equitation, which I got a blue ribbon in as well. Then we had our English horsemanship pattern level 3, which I got a blue ribbon in as well. Then we had my Hunter Hack cross rails, which I got purple ribbon in. Then we had my Hunter Hack 18-inch, which I also got a purple ribbon in. Then we scratched from the 2-foot class, which is what that little dot thing means. Then day number 2, we got a purple ribbon in my bareback class. We got a blue ribbon in my Western equitation. We got a blue ribbon in my Western horsemanship level 3. And then we got a red ribbon in trail. Then we were going to do barrel racing and pole bending, but the horses were tired and we were tired, so we ended up just scratching from those 2 classes. Overall, I could not be more proud of how Ace did. It was honestly just such a fun experience and honestly a very fun 4-H show, and I really enjoyed it. I'm so proud of how well Ace did. He performed better than I ever expected him to, and I'm really proud of how far we've come during the 4-H year and just how well we ended up doing at this show. So I hope that you guys all enjoyed this vlog. I'm hoping to do more in the future. But anyways, thank you guys all so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye!